on to another show that launched on almost the exact same day. We'll move on to Stranger Things season 4. As I mentioned before, just before we get into it, what have you guys thought about seasons 1 through 3 so far? Have you guys liked it, not liked it, like specific seasons more than the others?
JC.
Oh, okay. One had me so good. Two, I don't even remember who the villain was. And three, I can't remember any of the
Wasn't
story,
two
but
was
just
like
what the villain
just
was.
one was the Demigorgon, two was the big one that could like turn into water or puddles or something, and it would like travel around. And then
I don't remember
I don't
that.
remember that at all.
yeah, there was like a big giant one that was like
We're talking
a
about the Mind Flayer, right?
no
I feel like,
the Mind Flayer was 3.
well, I
Yeah,
feel the Mind Flayer
yeah.
is part of
The
2
Mind Flayer
and
is the
3.
ultimate baddie of everything.
Well, I don't know if that's true now.
No, it is.
After
The Mind Flayer is the ultimate. I think, from what I understand, it's the ultimate
I,
baddie.
well, that's what they alluded to in Dustin's theory in 4, but I don't know if that's true. I mean, well, we're getting way ahead of ourselves,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't remember the puddle monster. I mean, you might be right. 2 is like the biggest blank spot for me. All I remember is
Mhm.
Sean Astin, and he went too soon. Uh, that's about it.
He deserved better.
What was his name? Bob. I think his name was
I think
Bob.
it was
Oh,
Bob.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh.
Anyway, so that was it for me. Is I was like in it for 1, and then I watched 2, and I was like, okay, and then I watched 3, and I was like, okay, and then 4 came out, and I was just like, I don't even really know if I want to watch this or not. Like, that was my expectation going into it. But
But
I'll leave my thought. Do you want my thoughts now?
oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. You want? Oh my God, it got me so good.
I
Like,
I agree.
um,
I think my opinion are the same as yours. 1 was great, 2 was bad, 3 was better, and then I agree this one's much better. But go ahead. Sorry.
I
yeah,
don't know
no,
if I say 2 was bad. I
2 was
just
just
it may have forgetful or forgettable. But granted, it's been how many years now since 2? So
yes. I
yeah.
think that was it too. It's like the length of time in between when we're getting the seasons.
mm,
It's like, going, oh yeah, that show. I remember I liked it previously.
Phoenix
that
just
was the
Anyway,
redemption of Steve.
Phoenix just
So
has
that was like
to.
the subtitle for season
You
2.
just got to be the
yes,
voice of reason to try and defend something when I say it's bad.
I'm devil's advocate,
Every time,
opposite of everything
always,
you say. That's
always.
why I'm here.
always. Hmm.
But yes,
So
go ahead.
yeah, no, it got me really good. I think you probably have more organized thoughts on it. I'm kind of all over the place. So do you want to go and then I'll just interject where I have a thing?
Oh, sure. I mean, I guess I'll just say, like, as far as the entire season went, I felt like this season started off incredibly slow. I thought it was going to be similar to the past few, where I wasn't going to love it. And then definitely, I'd say around maybe episodes like 4, maybe 3 or 4 is definitely where I feel like it starts to spike.
Mm.
Um, I would just say, like, I feel like every plot I actually really liked. I would say, like, the only plot thread that I don't really like so far, I would say, is the whole Russian thing. What do you guys think about
Mm.
that stuff? I feel like that's the only
Oh.
part about this season where I'm like, what does this
Yeah,
really have to do with
this
Right.
was
anything?
my biggest critique
Hmm.
about the whole thing. Like, I mean, I've liked where the show's gone, but
Forgive me
by the
for all of
time
us
you
agreeing on one. Everyone wants to
by the
hear us
time you
argue.
get into, like, the third episode, there's 5 different plots happening. I mean, I understand that you have to have an A and a B line, but there's a C, D, and E line here too.
I
Like,
have that in
I
my
think I counted
notes.
out.
Yeah.
You've got Hopper in prison. You've got Joyce and Murray trying to get Hopper out of prison. You've got Elle and the doctors. You've got Mike, Will, and the Stoner Gang, and then you've got everyone else in Hawkins. Like, there's 5 stories to track here, and I know they, cross paths and intermingle at certain points, but for one, that's just too much to me.
Well,
Like,
all of
it's a
those are
lot to
fine,
track.
but I feel like the one Russia Alaska thing just like it sticks out like a sore thumb compared to
I
all
mean,
those
it
other
does,
ones.
but I have not really had a whole lot of fun with the Mike, Will, and Stoner crew. Like, what have
Yeah,
they
no.
done? I
I
mean, there was
guess.
it. Like, they're just kind of spinning their wheels. They have their whole little side thing trying to get Dustin's girlfriend, her crazy family.
Hmm.
Like, that's the hokey storyline to me. Like, everything they do is
Hmm.
almost comedic. Comedic. What am I thinking of? Whatever.
Like
Um,
slapstick.
I will say
yeah. I mean,
by now or good. Sorry.
no, no. What are you saying?
So by now I will say that this show like it definitely is like definitely sticks out that it's incredibly tropey, and it's almost like just over the top sometimes. And I get why. There's the whole purpose of the show is to be
It's an homage.
It's homage.
Very homage.
Homage. And I get it. Like that's why there's like actors from other movies that are involved. That's why all this music from that time frame. It is like just an absolute rush of nostalgia. Like that's what the show is, and I like that. But like
I feel like they play into it a little too much, and a
it's
little too
similar
hard.
to that to Trek to Yomi, where like rounding the bases like that. Like it just feels like sometimes it's a bit much, even though like. I appreciate seeing the Tron Legacy, seeing the original Tron posters, and like yes, I like, all that stuff. I just mean sometimes it's a little like nostalgia overload,
On the nose.
Yeah.
I haven't felt that way. Not necessarily. I mean, there have been a few hokey moments, but overall, that really doesn't take me out of it too much. Though, slow plot lines certainly have, though.
Mm-hmm.
JC, you were going to say something. I saw it.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Basically, I have like a likes and a I didn't like kind of thing
just
for it.
rattle them off.
Yeah?
Mhm.
Yeah? Okay. So, so this was kind of fun. I loved that they did an homage or maybe a callback to the satanic panic of the 80s where like everybody's up in arms about like in real life everybody's up in arms about D&D.
I didn't even realize that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole premise where they're all ready to like burn the dungeon master at the stake because they're like, oh, it was a satanic ritual, and
all because their name is just Hellfire or whatever.
Yes, and
Dungeons and Dragons during that time.
They blamed everything on that. Like every murder was like satanic ritual, or real serial killers are like, oh, the devil made me do it. It was the whole.
Nowadays, video games.
I was just gonna say they do it now.
Yes, but I like that it was true to the era, and I like that they brought it in. I thought that was fun.
Mm-hmm. I loved the freaking cameo of or sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, finish.
I loved seeing freaking what's his name? I have his name here.
Freddy Krueger.
Robert Englund. Getting to see Robert Englund, it was like yes.
I didn't realize that was him at first.
I knew it was him right when I saw him. I was like, oh sweet, Robert's in here. It's so cool. But sorry, go ahead.
I liked how all the scenes for this are like the horror scenes are set in like the reds and things like that. I like that warm tone that they really use like the color and the visuals to kind of set the tone. I thought that worked really well.
What did you think of that first death of Chrissy? Seeing it for the first time, I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!"
Yes, it was very cool. I mean, for someone who likes that. Man,
it's weird.
Is that weird to say? Like, I thought the murder was cool.
You're the problem. You liking this kind of stuff.
It's weird though, because like that kill was just so graphic. And like it's one of those things that like I'm horrified to see it every time, but I am waiting for the next one to happen too. Like I don't know, it's just.
You're horrified, but you want more.
Exactly, yes. The eyes, man, that's what gets me.
Yes, that little cherry on the top.
It wasn't the eyes for me. It was seeing the arms go the opposite direction. The arms going, the legs going the opposite direction. I was like, ooh, ow.
Yeah, but like
my back.
So, those like cool, like horror-y kind of scenes, that was really fun. And as soon as it happened, I was like, this right here, this is, I'm for this. That action sequence when they stormed their California house, when like, the agents are in there and they're
yes. That was a cool scene.
So the whole time, they make the call for the pizza. They're setting it up to be this like comedic, tropey kind of like, we're gonna escape.
Was it all one shot too? I don't think it cut.
It looked like it.
It didn't cut at all.
And you were like stealing it.
Oh, sorry.
No, but yes. So they'd set it up to be this tropey thing, and then it was a nice like twist that it went the other direction. And yes, I do believe it was all in one shot. That's usually something I look for because that's really hard to do and to keep the tension up for that whole time. Everybody's in their spots.
Now, as like an editor, I notice cuts every time I see one.
They usually have hidden cuts. Yeah.
Now that I'm editing stuff like constantly, like I can see them totally. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was it. So that like is where I was like, okay, yes. I mean, like the little thing sprinkled in there like was like, okay, all right, you got my attention. When that hit, I was like, yes, I'm here for it. Give me more of that. So I was pretty much hooked in that.
Actually,
Um,
I will say, just to combat my thought earlier about how there was no aspect of the Hopper Russia stuff I liked. Now I'm looking at my notes. There was something I actually did really like, and that was his whole escape scene from the prison, where it was out in the snow and his fight in that little cabin. All of that stuff I kind of enjoyed, but other than that, I guess maybe the Demogorgon scene was okay. I don't know.
meh. Yeah, no, I was not for
Yeah.
that.
So
Like it didn't need to be dragged out. They could have done all that like in half the time. Like cut some of the Joyce and Murray stuff out, let the Hopper stuff play out a little bit longer and get to the point.
seeing what's his name turn on them was like, dude, that guy's gonna turn on you the whole time. It's just like it was so obvious. I don't know.
It made it more frustrating than anything else. Like you saw it coming,
You saw it
but
coming.
like, at least for me, I was already like, man, this is taking too long. And then just thinking, oh, now the process is going to be even longer. I'm just like, oh, the whole Russian thing you guys have already kind of mentioned was, to me, the low part of the whole thing. And I don't really see what it's adding to the show. Like, I know in season 3 they brought it in. It was kind of like the hokey thing, like the Russians are coming, the whole commie kind of deal. But I don't know. Here, I don't even see what the benefit is. Like, I'm sure in the second half they'll add to it, but
in this season with the Russian stuff, in my opinion, there's absolutely no connective threading of it tying to the main plot whatsoever. Like, unless in the final 2 episodes they, I don't know how, unless it ties somehow with the way they got that Demigorgon, was that they have their own rift
gate
or
something.
Gate or something on their side.
I'm sure they'll tie it in, but I can't imagine it's going to be worth it. Like, they could have probably rewritten it without Russia at all, and it probably would have felt more concise. Like, this feels like just a tool to keep everybody separated more, and I don't think it's helped any character development for anybody. Like Hopper, I felt, has been a little wasted there. We got a little more backstory with his military background, but they could have dropped that anywhere else. Like, it just feels like wasted time.
JC seemed like she had something to say.
No, I was just agreeing.
Oh.
So the other thing that I liked is that, I kind of forgot that the kids were smart. Like that they're nerds. So, they're like D&D nerds. But I kind of forgot that they were like science nerds. And I was like, oh yeah, they were like the middle school AV club. They're nerds. So they're like, oh, the electromagnetic and my compass and this and that. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's right. They're like science nerds too. I'm glad that they kind of did that back, because otherwise they end up being really flat. Like, like not a whole lot of dimension or skill or anything to have them do what they're doing, which is solve all the murders.
I will say
I think part of the issue. I was gonna say, I think kind of that point, like, because they have so many characters now, like, it's a lot to keep up with, remembering all their backstories, how they got here, and all this kind of stuff, that I think is starting to, be a detriment to the show. You've got too many people, and a lot of them are kind of wasted. Like, let's be real. Mike, his only purpose in any of this show has been to be Elle's boyfriend. Like, I don't think he's done anything of major contribution. And Will, besides being lost, who?
Dustin is one of the only, like, Will and
Dustin contributes. I don't feel like Lucas has done a whole lot.
Will is only important because of what he went through the first season.
Yeah, he was gone. So really, the only kid who's done something is Dustin.
Elle and Dustin.
Yeah, so, like, you've got, like, so they were kind of wasted, and, like, Joyce is wasted, Murray is whatever. Like, you just got a bunch of characters that you don't care about, aren't contributing to the story, or it's just, they're just there. Even, I always forgot his name. Nancy's actual boyfriend.
Jonathan.
Jonathan. He's become wasted. Like, I don't remember what he's...
Yeah.
I don't know. And then you got a new character with his stoner friend. And you got Dustin's girlfriend.
I hate that stoner friend.
Argyle.
No hate for Jonathan, but that actor he's not my favorite in this show. I just think his character is kind of boring, and
I haven't given him anything to do. That's the problem. Like, they have all these characters that they've created, and they give them a one thing to introduce them. Like, I want this character to do this one thing in the story, and they do it. And now they're just there. Like, we're forced to have them for the rest of the show because now they're just part of the the crew.
All the characters that they've introduced are sorry, good.
I kind of wish. I cut you off again. So I say it one more time.
I said they have to keep them because now they're in the Scooby gang.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is, like, kill them off.
I
And
was
maybe that's pretty dark because they're kids, but
Barb deserved better.
I
well, here's
was
the thing: you got so many members now that aren't doing anything. I think how impactful it would have been. Like, I know people probably didn't want Max to die, but that would have been a
Oh
real gut
my
punch if
but
gosh.
like they
that's
would have had her die running
but
towards the
but
thing.
like
Like,
you're saying, that's why like Max's brother was such a cool character because started off
Billy.
as a douche, had an arc, went through some changes, and then by the end of the season, you're like rooting for this character to like be successful and turn things around. And it's like that was like a really good character for that season. You know, that was one
Right.
of the best characters of that season. You know,
The thing is that like so he was always set up to be a villain, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the tragic, a villain dies right as he kind of comes around kind of thing. But killing off heroes too, man. Like I know it's dark, and yes, these are kids, and I'm sure that's why they're not jumping to that. Well, granted, they've killed off other high school kids, Chrissy and that one
they've
little
killed lots of high
Yeah,
school.
but they weren't the heroes.
news.
We didn't love them.
But you know what I'm saying? Like they're, I guess, apparently killing kids isn't off the
What do they have? They
table.
have plot armor. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Well, no, I think that could have added some. It would have thinned the cast a little bit, and I don't know. I think would have helped push things along. Kill like they should have killed off Hop for real in the last season. Like
Maybe.
I know everybody likes Hop, but what has he added right now besides being the mopey? Oh man, I'm the curse to everybody's life. Like you kill off Hop, then you don't have Joyce and Murray running off to Russia. You've kept them contained now. Hop now has kind of this legend to him, and like it's more meaningful. I don't know. I don't. And plus, it's not like you had a whole lot of time to even think he was dead. Like he died at the end of season 3, and immediately in season 1, he's back. So funny thing, I was in Walmart the other day. You don't have to watch the show to know he's back. They had a Stranger Things themed flashlight. You can open up a secret message in it, and it says "Hop's alive," and that's plastered on the side of the box. So it's like, I don't know. You don't even get to revel in that.
Yeah.
So kill him off, keep him dead.
What do you think of Eddie? So you think I think he's been an entertaining character introduced.
Yeah, I mean, he's been serving this role in the plot well, but here's my concern now. So you've introduced him to do this one thing in this storyline. I don't know how long this show's supposed to go on, if this is their last season,
The
or if they
last
got more,
season is
but
the next one. The next one is
Okay.
the last season, they've said.
so I don't know if Eddie's going to serve a major role in the next one, but now he's just going to be another part of the Scooby Gang that we got to keep tabs on. Like, kill
Actually,
him off.
I have a
don't know.
plot issue I had that I wrote down here
Oh.
is I'm not quite sure why the group doesn't just let Eddie get arrested. Then the cops will see it isn't him committing the murders. Like,
Well, they don't necessarily know that there's going
gonna
to
be another
more
murder.
They could just pin it on him, like.
but once there was more than 2 or 3 murders, it's like, why don't you just let
Yeah,
him?
but their hope is to prevent them too. Like, they prevented Max's. Like, I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I guess in a way that could have worked out, but at the same time, it's a gamble. Like, I don't know. You get them in the system, and then there is no other murder. Now it's all depend on them because they need a scapegoat. So, I don't know.
I guess another thing for me is how many times have you guys listened to Kate Bush since since this series? I know Kate Bush on YouTube. She's like got millions of view or listens now to her
Good for
song.
her.
I didn't even.
Yeah,
It's a good song. I like it.
I had never heard of the song before this. Sorry, go ahead, JC.
Oh, no, I said it was a good song. It's a good one. I liked it, especially for how they used it. And, like, man, that Max scene running, I was like, oh, they're setting up that she's going to die. She's writing all these letters. I'm like, oh, man, it doesn't. And Phoenix is like, she's not going to die. They're setting it to. And then as she's running, I'm like, oh, my gosh,
Yeah, I thought she could get squished last minute. I think that would have been better.
I do.
You can hate me
I
for
do-
it, but
I
I
do
think that would have.
I do think this season is suffering from a lack of. Because once you have main characters stick around for long enough, then it starts feeling, again, like plot armor, where it's like, I get it, a lot of these people are safe, nothing's going to happen.
This show hasn't killed off any main characters yet, has it? Really, besides Hop got killed off.
Bob, he wasn't a main character.
He wasn't a main character.
wasn't
Billy wasn't a
original.
main character. Like, the main crew has stuck around, which makes me now like, okay, I'm not ever really all that worried about him. Like, I was pseudo worried about Max
I was
because
gonna say
she's still
that.
kind of a new character, but apparently she's got that armor.
So I guess again, this whole thing's been spoilers at this point, but what did you guys think of the whole mysterious number 1 and all of that stuff and how he ties in that stuff?
Ooh.
So cool, I thought.
Yes.
That actor
I
was
felt
awesome. He was like cynical.
Yes.
Looking, yeah.
like when I'm starting to watch it, like like I started getting that little inkling that maybe there was more to this. And then as he's explaining things, I'm like, no, that what he's saying is not adding up. And then like I'm kind of on it like just a few seconds before they reveal it. Kind of what's going on. And that was really fun for me to be like, oh, figure it out and then get it confirmed like, 3 seconds later. I felt like this was a real payoff. Like this little end or this mid-season, mid-term, I don't know what do you call it. But this little break in the season, I feel like I got real payoff, which I felt like I haven't gotten in this show for a while. Like they tease stuff with the Demogorgon, like in the first one, where like it took you forever to see it, and then it was finally revealed towards the end. I really enjoyed that anticipation waiting for it.
Yeah.
And I felt like we really got that anticipation at this one, especially because like it clicked for me, when Elle's walking around and we think that she killed all the kids and the thing, you see them all like turn different ways and all this stuff. And then a second before we see one of their faces, I'm like, we haven't seen their faces, but it's not because like she can't bear
or whatever.
Right. It's not because she couldn't bear to see them, or that we as the audience couldn't bear to see kids in that form. It was because it was a nice little bow at the end of the monologue of you see their face and you're like, oh my gosh, if we had seen this we would have figured it out.
Well, to be honest,
like
I feel like I would have seen it coming more, but in Robert Englund's scene I could have sworn he said something about both of his children dying. So
he did.
So that's
why
why
he didn't know.
Yeah.
Like he did say like my son went into a coma and then he died shortly after. So I don't think like it was ever explicitly said to him that his kid ended up in an institution, but that's because probably hidden behind the scenes from him.
Fair enough.
I think what I've really liked about this is like throughout the entire series. I mean the upside down and the mind flare and all this, like they've been kind of just anomalous big bad entities. Like what's their real motive besides just being bad? This is the first time there's been like something with context that relates to our characters that is behind all this stuff going on. Like that's why I was saying like I'm not sure the mind flare is the true big bad here, because I know that's what Dustin said, but if you think about
because he went into a world that was already developed and evil.
That was not it wasn't really creative. Like there was a world there, but you see him getting sucked into it. It doesn't look like Hawking's yet. I don't see any other like creatures. I mean, granted, it was just a glimpse of it, but I don't know, it makes me feel like he is more of an instigator to me. Like, I don't know, I could be very wrong. Because why would he be working for the Mind Flayer? Like, how does that benefit him? Like, this guy's gone into it with a very clear motivation of what he wants to do. So, I don't know, it almost feels like more the Mind Flayer was a tool for him, maybe. I don't know, and I could be wrong, but I
Another quick question is for me does all of the scientists and Papa, do they exactly know what exactly happened? Because
they would have to. They watched the video.
They have the video? Okay. Yeah, I didn't think.
Well, yeah, I mean, Brenner is it Brenner or Brennan? Whatever, Brenner, I think.
Well, because Papa
he put the video at the end.
Well, because he says when Elle comes to the door and forces it open, he says, "What have you done?" So
that's when he was in it. He hadn't watched this, retrospectively, but they now have a video. This is what 10 years after that. He's had a video done. He's watched it since.
So if Papa knew that number one,
that's why they want Elle to get her powers back, because they know this entity is out there.
But if Papa,
she's the only one.
But if Papa,
that's the whole thing. They're setting up saying you're the only one that can do anything, because she is the only one that's done anything with number one. Because what did they do with number one? They chipped him so that he couldn't do anything because they didn't have any power over him.
But that's what I'm saying. If the whole time number one was under their influence and they had him chipped because they clearly know he's evil or something, why have someone you can't necessarily control? I mean, I guess you could make the argument it's because they're taking from him, because that's the whole gist, is that they're taking from him and cloning it or moving it into these children. So maybe that's why they just kept him around, is because even though they know he's
too
evil,
valuable to
he's too valuable to just dispose of.
And they technically thought they did have him under control because he was under control
for how many years?
Manipulated Elle.
Mm-hmm. And if he hated Elle them so much, why did he just bonk Papa on the head? Wouldn't he have ripped Papa to shreds if he disliked him that much? I don't know.
Well, maybe.
Wait, say that again. Who hates who?
because
You know,
Number
one
one?
hates Papa.
one hates Papa and everything. He hates like society and all the children and everything. So like, why didn't he just like take Papa and dismember him worse than everyone else when he knows this guy's the one controlling him? Like, I don't know. He just kind of bonked him on the head and was like, "I'll let you live."
Well, let
Did
me
he
think
bonk
about
him on
this
the
though.
head? No, he
No,
didn't.
I think he blasted like a door. I don't think he went in there and like exterminated. I think he was just popping doors as he's going out.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't think there
maybe.
was ever necessarily an interaction directly with, one after he got all his powers back, and then Brenner. I mean, unless I missed that, but I think
Why
you're right. I
not?
think like
Why
Brenner got
not?
knocked
Wasn't
out.
Brenner probably the one he would hate the most?
Well, yeah, but he made him run. I don't think he knew where Brenner was yet. I don't think. I think it was,
Oh.
just collateral damage. He got knocked down. He
Oh,
probably
I
didn't realize
see.
he
I
was
see
in
what you're
there.
saying.
And then by the time he, was going to go search for him, that's when L encountered him and bam, got sent off to wherever. So,
Okay.
oh, the timeline
You sound like
is.
one of the showrunners here. I don't like
Yeah,
this.
I am. Yeah.
Defending
I
everything.
don't know. Well, I mean, it's weird because like it makes sense, but there's little gaps there, so you do
Yeah.
have to kind of fill it in. Like even the timeline now, I'm trying to figure out because like, so did L create the upside down or it create it as it is? Because like the moment she sent this one over to that side, is that when gates started popping up around Hawkins, and that's when Will got sucked in? Because apparently the upside down was created the
At
day that
the
Will
day
got
that
sucked
Will
in.
got sucked in.
So are these the same event?
I think it's all the same event. Yeah, in
Mhm.
my opinion, I think L basically is the creator of, not the creator of the upside down, but she is like
The
the
Hawkins
founder.
upside down.
The Hawkins upside.
Yeah.
She's more like the
Or-
founder.
I agree.
But do we think it? Well, that's a question because when you see one getting, sent into the upside down, it looks nothing like Hawkins yet. And L doesn't seem like she did anything to, turn it into Hawkins. So did one recreate the upside down in the image
Oh,
of Hawkins?
but I just thought about it. Like
Because
because
his house
'cause-
that he's hanging out in. Just saying.
because where. I don't know. That's interesting. I was just thinking about because it wasn't in the first season when, like, it was on the wall, right? The opening, the very first opening. It was on the wall in that science. I don't know. She kind of created it. That's all I'm saying. She created.
There was
because,
a gate there. Yeah.
Because where she killed him, that's where that Demigorgon in the first season comes out of. Because remember, wherever you die is where a portal gets created.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because
Well, is that true for every? I mean, that might be true. I don't know. It's hard to see if that's the same rule. So
because that's what happened in the season, right? Because everywhere one of the kids died, they said a portal was created.
I guess that would make sense. That's where one died. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Because he died on that wall, and I remember in the 1st season, it was that wall. There was like a crack in that wall in that like almost exact spot where that Demigorgon came out of. I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe it wasn't the exact moment that Will got taken, but within like the same day, probably, because Elle escapes that day, Demogorgon gets out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. There's definitely some questions there, and the timeline's a little weird, but it sounds like that's what they're going for. It all kind of stemmed from that event.
Right.
I'm curious to see how the Upside Down became the flip side of Hawkins. I'm not sure if Elle did that, or if one did that, or if it was something else. Maybe it is the Mind Flayer, but
maybe
it's interesting. I'm glad there's questions now to wonder what's going on.
Maybe
Like,
number one, just like you said, maybe he was the creator of the Upside Down, and he just created what he knew.
at least that version of
Which
the
what he
Upside
knew
Down,
was
yeah.
was that town, and that's where he was from. He just created a place that was something recognizable.
I don't know. That's kind of tricky, though. It just makes me wonder if it's something about the gate aspect of it sucks in kind of where it came from and made something there. Because if you think about number one, he's like in a facility. He doesn't really know the town. Like they don't let him out to be like.
But he
What
grew up there as a
happened?
kid,
He
at
grew
least
up there
for a
as a
little
kid,
while.
yeah.
He lived there long enough to probably get a feel for the
For
town.
a little while, but Nancy's house is there with her shoes and her diary. I don't know, just something about that. There's so much detail from one place to the other. It seems like a weird thing, unless they're playing like he made it and he's a psychic and he knows what everybody else in the town is thinking. So maybe that's how he recreated it. I don't know. There's just something about that doesn't seem
They have a
quite
lot. They have a lot to
exactly.
answer
Could
in
be
these,
reaching, yeah.
final two episodes. They have a lot to.
I'm just glad
explain.
there's some answers to be searching
Interest,
for now. Like
yeah.
up to this point, like I had no idea where they were going with this because like the end of season 3 ended with them killing the Mind Flayer, right, or some
some
entity like the
representation
Mind.
of the Mind Flayer.
So, Alan, I was kind of getting like just bored of that whole thing. Like, oh, the Mind Flayer's back. Let's kill him again. Oh no, it's the Mind Flayer. So it's nice to see that there's some new intriguing component to this, where there's some questions we're trying to figure out. So I don't know. I'm for it. I like where they're going with it.
Well, I agree. The last two episodes. I think the last episode of this previous first 7 was an hour and a half. So I fully expect the last 2 to probably both be hour and a half long episodes, maybe 2 each. You know,
Is it only 2 episodes?
it's only 2 episodes, I believe. The second part, I think. From
Oh, I didn't know that. I just saw volume 2. I assumed it was going to be
A whole set of
something.
episodes, yeah.
I could be wrong though. I have not checked.
I will.
All right, while you're pulling that up, I kind of want to just hop into what I really did not like about this season. I was bored. Like, there are parts that blew my mind. I was like, yes, give me more. But other parts where I was like scrolling on my phone, like, you know, all the California stuff. Like,
Whenever we went to Russia, yeah.
yeah, like I was just not there for it. So I would kind of like half pay attention for those parts and then pop in when it got good again. I think I could do this like an abridged version where like you cut out those parts and I just want the storyline that is, you know, concise and to the
The
point.
main Hawkins storyline is good.
Yes.
Everything else is just spinning its
It
wheels.
says here that
Pretty much.
the final or Stranger Things season 2 finale is just 2 movies. So it's probably, I'm guessing, 2-hour length. You know.
Which, I mean, that's fine. I mean, if it's to
Yeah.
the point, I mean, the whole point we're just saying is like the first season felt bloated. Probably
Yeah.
half the season could have been yanked out. And it was what, 7 episodes? So knock it down to 4. That's about 2 movies worth of good content. So if these last 2 movies or episodes are focused, and hopefully another Russia stuff will speed up because like they're together over there. Maybe there'll be some revelations.
They
and
absolutely they have to have some sort of connective thread to this main plot. There has to be.
you know,
some
I still don't
sort
think
of-
it's going to be big enough to be worth it, but you know, they'll do something.
It was just, I think it was really just feeling like padding. Like, you know, I didn't even, that was the whole thing. It was no purpose. Like, it just felt like fluff that was unnecessary. And I don't know, I just don't know how you make a show like that where you're like making these parts that are so good and these parts that are so bad. Like, you know, I just, anyway. But overall, I'm hooked. I'm going to watch more of it, but I'm probably going to have my phone handy just in case.
Yeah.
You know, we have
Play
to
some
chase
Diablo.
down. Yes, yes.
All right, so I think I'm gonna move us on. I mean, was there any other like final thoughts you guys had? Overall, I think we're all like, I actually went into these 2 shows at the same time, Obi-Wan and Stranger Things. I watched them back to back, and I was expecting to like Obi-Wan much more than Stranger Things, and I actually found myself liking Stranger Things slightly more than Obi-Wan. I don't know how you.
Well, Stranger Things gave you more. Like Obi-Wan was just 2
And we've only
episodes.
seen
This
2
was
episodes,
a bulk. So
Yeah, fair enough.